Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we break down the difference between what is a delusion and what is real in gang stalking. I know I've been on a few online communities, and not everybody's case is definitely rooted in reality. Some people do have different type of mental issues, but I know that certain cases are definitely real, and there have been documented facts to back that up. I know, for example, in my case, I've recorded the people who have been gang stalking me and hacking me, and it's definitely real. And believe it, sooner than later, they will be caught, and you guys will definitely know about it. But sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode, and please like and subscribe.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sift through the noise, crack open some fascinating sources, and really pull out the key nuggets of knowledge for you.
That's the plan.
And today, we're plunging headfirst into something pretty unsettling. It sits right at the intersection of psychology, online communities, and, well, how we perceive reality itself. Imagine feeling constantly targeted, spied on, like your every move is being tracked by some kind of organized group aiming to harm you.
Sounds like a thriller plot.
Exactly. But for a significant number of people, this isn't fiction. It's a terrifying reality they feel they're living every single day.
A deeply felt one.
Yeah. So we're embarking on a deep dive into what's often called gang stalking or group stalking.
Right.
It's a really compelling topic, but also highly controversial. Lots of debate around it.
Definitely.
Our mission today, cut through that noise. We'll look at reports, psych studies, those online discussions, which are, a whole world in themselves.
They really are.
We want to understand what this is, why the narrative is so powerful, and what it tells us about belief, evidence, and maybe even reality itself.
That's spot on. Our goal here is to pull out the most crucial insights from the sources we've looked at.
Okay.
So we'll start by defining gang stalking. Then look at how common it reportedly is. The numbers might surprise you. From there, we'll dig into the psychological viewpoints, how experts try to explain these experiences.
And the online side.
Absolutely. We'll examine the role of those online communities, how they validate, how they shape understanding. And crucially, we have to navigate that really tricky line between what might be seen as delusion and, well, actual documented cases of group persecution. Because those exist too.
Right. Important distinction.
Yeah. By the end, hopefully, you'll have a much clearer, more informed perspective on this whole intricate subject.
Okay, let's start right there, defining it. When someone talks about gang stalking,
Yeah.
what are they actually describing? What's the core feeling?
Well, at its heart, gang stalking describes these deeply felt persecutory beliefs.
Persecutory beliefs. Okay.
Yeah. Individuals who report this, they genuinely believe they're being targeted by coordinated, organized harassment campaigns.
So not just random incidents.
No, for them it feels systematic, pervasive, a constant sense of being watched, followed, harassed by multiple people or groups working together.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It is, and it's vital to grasp that for these individuals, the experience feels absolutely real. It profoundly impacts their day-to-day life.
And it's not just a few isolated cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our sources suggest this is more widespread than you might think.
That's right. The numbers are quite striking, actually. Some studies we looked at suggest around 0.66% of women and maybe 0.17% of men in Western countries report experiences like this.
Wow. Okay. That's not insignificant.
Not at all. And then there's the online aspect. One source mentioned over 10,000 people are active in online communities specifically discussing gang stalking.
10,000. That's a substantial community.
It is. It shows this isn't just a fringe belief. It represents a real slice of the population grappling with these, well, challenging beliefs about their reality.
Those numbers definitely make you pause. It forces the question, doesn't it? What exactly is going on here? How do we explain this pattern?
And that's where the psychological perspective really comes into play. It offers a framework. Research pretty consistently links these kinds of gang stalking beliefs with what clinicians call persecutory delusions.
Delusions, that's a strong word.
It is, and it's used specifically in a clinical context. It helps understand the cognitive patterns, like how someone might interpret everyday, maybe ambiguous events as malicious or directed specifically at them.
Even without clear external proof.
Exactly, even when the objective evidence doesn't seem to support that interpretation. One study we saw looked at 128 self-reported victims, and the conclusion was that all cases were highly likely delusional.
All of them in that study.
In that specific study, yes. Now, that's one study, but it points to a strong clinical consensus. This medical viewpoint is sort of crucial for trying to differentiate internally generated experiences from, externally verifiable threats.
It's such a critical distinction
Yeah.
because, look, regardless of the origin, whether it's clinically defined as a delusion or something else, the impact on the person it's devastatingly real.
Undeniably, the suffering is real.
Yeah, our sources really detail the severe psychological effects. We're talking clinical depression,
Mhm.
symptoms very much like PTSD, major problems with socializing, holding down jobs.
Mhm.
Just imagine living every single day believing you're under constant attack, that you have no privacy, that some hidden group is orchestrating your misery.
The mental toll would be enormous.
Absolutely immense. It makes functioning incredibly hard. The suffering is tangible, personal, and has these terrible real-world consequences.
No question about that.
Okay, so we understand the deep personal toll. Now let's shift to how the digital world comes into this. How do these very personal experiences get connected online?
Oh, the online communities. Yeah, it's fascinating, really. Platforms like Reddit, YouTube, they become central hubs
Hubs for what
for
exactly?
people connecting globally, sharing incredibly similar stories, often across continents. And in doing that, they develop this shared language.
A specific vocabulary.
Exactly. You see terms like targeted individuals or Ts, that's how they often refer to themselves, and perpetrators for the people they believe are harassing them.
So it creates a common framework.
Precisely. A shorthand for these complex, terrifying experiences. It helps define their shared reality.
And that shared reality, that validation,
Yeah.
that must be incredibly powerful, especially if you feel totally alone offline.
Immensely powerful. Imagine believing this is happening to you, feeling isolated, maybe disbelieved by friends or family. Then you go online and find thousands describing the exact same things.
Down to specific tactics, even.
Yes, things they might call gaslighting or mobbing. Finding others describe that. It validates everything you feel. It turns this personal horror into what feels like a recognized, shared phenomenon.
Giving it a kind of collective legitimacy.
Exactly. And this merging of narratives, it helps these beliefs gather momentum, spread across borders. It becomes a kind of collective experience.
It's not just sharing, it's reinforcing.
Right. Mutual affirmation. Someone shares something they see as evidence, and it bolsters someone else's conviction. It creates this environment where perceptions are constantly reinforced.
Which shapes how they see everything around them.
Definitely. It shapes their understanding of their own experiences and the world.
And this shared reality, this intense belief system, sometimes it spills over into the physical world in dangerous ways.
Tragically, yes. There are examples. Our sources mentioned a really stark one from 2022.
The Ohio shooting.
Yes. The perpetrator explicitly cited gang stalking conspiracies as part of their motivation. It's a chilling reminder that these beliefs aren't always contained online. They can have devastating real-world consequences.
A truly awful outcome.
But then, crucially, we have to place that alongside the fact that actual documented group stalking does happen. It's not always delusion.
Okay, like what?
Well, the sources bring up transnational repression. There was a case involving U.S. charges against people linked to the PRC.
For stalking dissidents here.
Exactly, stalking and harassing dissidents on U.S. soil. These aren't just perceived threats. These were verifiable acts of persecution by an organized group, backed by evidence leading to legal action.
So that highlights the core challenge, doesn't it? Separating perceived threats from genuine documented persecution.
That's the nub of it, and it fuels the controversy because you have these two clashing realities.
Right. Mainstream psychiatry often views gang stalking reports through the lens of delusion, maybe linking it to conditions like paranoid schizophrenia.
That's the general clinical perspective, yes.
But then you have these online communities who completely reject that label vehemently.
They do. And they share what they see as evidence, videos of perceived harassment, logs of strange coincidences they interpret as attacks.
Documenting their perceived reality.
Right, so you get this polarized situation. Two different interpretations of reality, neither accepting the other's view. It makes understanding truth and evidence incredibly difficult.
And this leads to concerns about the online communities themselves.
It does. Critics raise serious points. While these spaces offer connection, maybe reduce isolation, which is important.
There's a but.
There's a concern they might inadvertently reinforce beliefs that are potentially harmful or rooted in psychological distress.
And maybe stop people from seeking help.
That's the worry, that the online validation, while comforting, might actually impede someone from seeking or accepting clinical treatment that could genuinely help them, especially if their experiences are part of a treatable mental health condition.
That's a heavy ethical consideration for these platforms.
It really is. It forces us to think about the impact of these digital spaces, the information they promote, the kind of support they offer.
It's definitely a tough balance. Okay, let's loop back to the legal and social side. We've established actual group stalking is rare, but it is documented, like the state-sponsored stuff.
Yes, the transnational repression example from the FBI is chilling proof. It's not always delusion. Sometimes the monsters are real and there's evidence.
But distinguishing, that's the hard part.
That's the huge challenge for everyone involved. Legal system, doctors, the individuals themselves. How do you tell the difference?
Especially with ambiguous things.
Exactly. The sources mention things like lingering glances or seeing the same car too often, maybe feeling like you're being eavesdropped on.
Things that could be coincidence.
Right. An individual might interpret these as part of a coordinated campaign, but they could also just be normal, random life stuff misinterpreted because of an underlying belief system.
That ambiguity makes clear answers almost impossible sometimes.
It really does, both for the person experiencing it and for anyone outside trying to help or assess the situation. The line between real and perceived can be incredibly fine, blurry.
And that's the really complex part, isn't it? This gray area where intent, perception, reality, they all just get tangled up.
Completely tangled. What one person experiences as a direct, malicious act, someone else might see as totally unrelated, benign.
And our tools for untangling it often feel inadequate.
They often do. It leaves this profound uncertainty for everyone.
So how does this connect back to you, our listener?
Well, this whole phenomenon, game stalking, it really pushes us to question our own understanding of reality, doesn't it?
It does make you think.
It forces us to look at how we approach mental health, how we practice empathy for people in deep distress, and it makes us critically consider the power of these online narratives.
How they can both connect people and maybe entrench certain beliefs.
Exactly. How do we make sense of the world? How do we decide what's real? How do these digital spaces shape all of that in ways we're maybe just starting to grasp?
What a journey today. Seriously. We've defined gang stalking, touched on the psychology, the global spread online, and that really critical, often painful distinction between perceived and actual targeting. It's one of those topics that genuinely makes you ponder the nature of belief itself and evidence and what we hold as true.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. This deep dive really compels us to think about how we as a society navigate these claims of persecution.
Especially now in this digital age.
Right. When online communities can be so powerful, validating experiences, but also potentially locking people into certain belief systems. How do we evaluate information responsibly?
How do we support people in distress effectively?
And how do we encourage critical thinking when those lines between perception and reality get so incredibly painfully blurred?
That's not just about gang stalking, is it? That applies much more broadly.
It really does. It's a fundamental challenge for our times.
Powerful questions indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a really complex and thought-provoking phenomenon.
Thanks for the discussion.
Keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.